Hey friends, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to walk you through my April TBR, which is dictated by Book Roast's Magical Readathon. So it's April, which means it's time for the spring equinox semester at the Orilium Academy, which is the magical fictional academy set up by G from Book Roast for her twice a year magical readathon. I've done quite a few of these videos. I do the magical readathon every year. It's so much fun. And because this is the second full year of doing the Aurelium version of the magical readathon, we have been given the choice of continuing to pursue the career that we chose in the first year or choose a different one. I decided to continue with my career of alchemist, and so that means I have to read 10 books in April. March was a bit of a rough reading month for me. I do think I ended up reading 10-ish books, which is fairly decent, but I just felt like a bit of a slog. There weren't many books that were really gripping me, and I was mostly consuming other content. I spent way too much time on TikTok, and it wasn't great. So I'm hoping that with more of a structure for my reading month, I can read more books and read books that I enjoy more. So let's talk about what I need to do to pass this semester of the magical readathon. So I made a bullet journal spread and I printed out the syllabus and starred which classes I need to do, and then I'll write in which books I read as I read them. And then I do have another blank page here where I'm starting to write out the prompts for the side quest. In previous years, G did a whole bunch of little side quests, and it was just one book prompt per quest, and then you get points for that. But this year it's kind of a longer quest with a choose your own adventure style, and it goes for as long as you want. Originally she had said till August, but she said you can take as long as you want to complete it. So I have a space here where I can write down my choices and navigate my little map through that side quest. So first up, I have to take Alchemy, of course, if I'm going to become an alchemist. And the prompt for that is to read a book with metal in the name. Shockingly, I only had one book on my shelf, from the library or that I owned that I hadn't read yet with any metal in the name. And that is Ashes of Gold by Elle. This is a sequel. I can't remember what the first one's called. Something about wings. Yeah, the first one was called Wings of Ebony, and I enjoyed it. I don't remember anything that happened in it at all, so I'm going to have to find a Wikipedia synopsis so that I can read this, but this is the only book that I had that has metal in the title. Then I have the course of Animal Studies, in which case I get to flip a coin, and if it's heads, I read a nonfiction book. If it's tails, I'll read a fiction book. Okay, so I flipped a coin, and it was tails, so I have to find a fiction book to read. Please hold and I will find a fiction book to read. So I decided that I'm going to go with I'm the Girl by Courtney Summers. I won this in a giveaway on Instagram from Wednesday Books, so thank you Wednesday Books, and it came with this gorgeous print by Jennifer Prince. Will it focus on the print? Yes. It's so beautiful. I love it, and I need to put it in my house somewhere. Also, this book has stuff under the dust jacket. So cool. Okay, so, and this one is by the author of Sadie. It's another kind of teen mystery thriller, true crime-ish kind of story where we have a teen who gets embroiled in trying to solve a disappearance in her town and gets too into it. I read Sadie and I loved it. I read her other one and wasn't as big of a fan, but I think if this is close to Sadie, kind of has the same vibe as Sadie, then I'm really going to enjoy this. Okay, then I have to read a book for Astronomy, which is to read a book with 2 E's in the title. I had a lot of choices. For now, I have chosen Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe. This was also a book recommended to me by a friend for my 12 months Books Friends challenge that I'm doing this year again. This is a nonfiction book about the Sackler family and all the bad stuff they've done. So yeah, I thought I would use this as a chance to cross off another book on that challenge. And I've had this out from the library for a while, so I think it needs to go back soon, so I better get to it. Okay, then I have to read a book for Demonology, which is a book compared to one of your favorite books. So for that, I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. This is like a cozy fantasy that follows a grumpy professor as she tries to like do research on fairies up in a Scandinavian country. She's kind of like a little curmudgeon, and she ends up being accompanied by her colleague who is like charming and gets on her nerves and is like pampered and spoiled. So I've heard this compared to Sorcery of Thorns, which I really loved, as well as House in the Cerulean Sea or Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, which I also really loved, but I don't talk about because T.J. Klune took inspiration from the 60s scoop of the government forcibly removing Indigenous children from their families and giving them to white families, and that was a really weird thing to be inspired by and then turn it into a fantasy novel. So I don't talk about his books, but I did really enjoy them. So I'm hoping that this is like a super cute fantasy with like some romance and it's cozy. I'm really excited to read this one. Okay, then I have Elemental Studies, which is to read a book with flowers on the cover. And for that, I decided to go with Miss Meteor by Tehlor K. Mejia and Anna Marie Mclemore. And this is, I believe, a kind of like a magical realism teen book that follows two contestants in a beauty pageant. And I really enjoyed the books I read by Anna Marie Mclemore before. They've got really cool like magical realism aspects in it, and the writing's gorgeous, so I'm super excited for this one. Okay, then I have to read a book for Spells and Incantations, which is a book between 389 to 415 pages. It took me quite a while to find a book that would fit this, but I eventually stumbled upon Frankly in Love by David Yoon. This is a signed copy that I found in a used bookstore. Made its way from the US up to Canada because it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So that's super cool. But this follows a Korean American boy and his trials through high school and falling in love. And it just sounds like a really fun coming of age story with a Korean main character. And it is 406 pages. Okay, then I have to read a book for Artificery, which is to start a read with a snack. I'm just going to choose whatever book I want at that point. I do have enough guild points, which is a whole other side thing where you get points for doing quests and stuff, and that each level of the guild points measuring bar thing gets you different powers, kind of. Like you get to do different things. One of them is like you get to count a DNF as a book you read. And for the level that I'm at, I get to split a book that's over 500 pages into two. So I'm thinking, I do have one on here that I haven't mentioned yet that is over 500 pages. So I might just use that, start it with a snack, and then I can use it for this one as well, or combine it with other prompts that work for it. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. We'll see how much time I have in the month, because it is already April 4th today, and I've read one book so far. Okay, then for Inscription, I have to read a book from your top or highest shelf. So the way my library is set up is I have a tall bookcase here, a tall bookcase over there, and then this short guy here. The tall bookcases are books that I've already read. So my highest shelf for books I haven't read is this shelf up here, which has mostly library books, but some books that I own as well. So I decided to pick A Million to One by Adiba Jaigirdar off of that shelf. This is a teen heist upon the Titanic novel with sapphic characters. I bought this at the end of last year and I still haven't gotten around to reading it, so I'm super, super pumped for that because I love books about the Titanic. Follows 4 young women on the Titanic and it sounds like a really good time. Then I have to read a book for lore, which is to read a book with a map, and I've chosen A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. It is long. It is 846 pages, and this is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree, which I did really enjoy. So I was very excited to get this at a library. It just came out fairly recently. Yeah, so this one is over 500 pages, so I can count it for 2 prompts. So I might count it for this one, and then maybe the starting to read with a snack, or I could even choose it for like the flip a coin one. We'll see, but it's pretty chunky, so I think it could take me a while to get through. The last prompt for this semester is to read a book for restoration, and that's close your eyes, shuffle a bunch of books, and point at them. I picked out a selection of books that I want to read is coming up soon. And I thought I would somehow shuffle these and then point to one of them. I think what I'm going to do is put these on the ground, put some gloves on so I can't, because they feel very different. Like this one's got the library dust jacket, this one's kind of sticky, this one's just the plain paperback. So I'm going to put some gloves on, I'll like shuffle them all up, and then I will point. Okay, so I put my gloves on, shuffled them around, pointed at one. It's this one. I'm going to read Modesty, A Fashion Paradox by Hafsa Lodi. This is a nonfiction book about like modest fashion, and I think it should be really interesting because a lot of times you see like fashion or like haute couture and stuff, and it's very revealing, and it's like, oh, how much skin can you show? So it'll be interesting to see the more modest stuff, like people who decide to wear hijabs or who just dress more modestly. So I think it'll be quite interesting. The intersections between like politics and fashion in a much more obvious way than is often portrayed. For the alchemy side quest, I have picked a book because the first prompt, if you decide to accept the quest, is to read a book with night in the title or on the cover. So I've decided to read The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is, I think, the latest book in her Wayfarers series that I have really, really loved. I'm not usually a huge sci-fi person, but Becky Chambers just does such a good job. It's very like character-based, and it's just, ugh. Becky Chambers is incredible. Ooh, look at the end pages. That's fun. So yeah, this has the night sky on it, so that's gonna count for that prompt. And those are the 6 billion books that I have to read in April. Just kidding, it's 10 plus the one side quest one. So it should be lots of fun. Wish me luck, and I will see you on the other side, I guess. Let me know if you're participating in the Magical Readathon as well, what you're pursuing, how many books you have to read, all that jazz. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Now go read a book. What's that mean? How's that working? What's going on? What's the vibe, you know? She's standing on top of a fabric collapsible box, scritching it and destroying it. Can you calm down for 1 second in your life?